Nigeria turns 65 tomorrow, and the question on everyone's mind is, where do we stand politically? The political terrain is marked by recycled leadership, rising youth discontent, and a digital generation demanding transparency. Tonight, we unpack the state of our politics, what's working, what's broken, and what must evolve to meet the aspiration of the new Nigeria. From electoral reforms to governance gaps, we ask, is our democracy deepening or just surviving? Let's unpack the state of our politics and what it means for the future of governance in Africa's largest democracy. Well, joining me to discuss this at this time is, of course, the former Minister of Youth and Sports, Honorable Solomon Dalung. Thank you for your time, sir.
Thank you for the opportunity, and good evening, Nigerians.
All right. Maybe I should start by saying in advance, Happy Independence to you, ahead of tomorrow.
Yeah, thank you very much for that great wish. We're happy that the white people left, and we are not better than when they left us.
Well, maybe I should just start with your reaction, because the federal government did announce that the usual parade that we see, on days like what we would have tomorrow on Independence Day would not happen tomorrow. Nigerians have been reacting to this. What's your take, sir?
No, the president is aware that if he had continued with national celebrations, the officers would have collapsed because of hunger. So to save Nigeria of the monumental embarrassment, canceling the celebration was the best, because we are just trying to be hypocritical with the issue of the state of the nation, especially when it relates to the general hunger in the land, the discontent, the traumatized nature of the citizenry, and so it has affected almost every social strata. So I think in order to save the country of a mass collapse of officers on parade, canceling the national celebration was the best. And of course, that will also save Nigerians, because if you allow common Nigerians to celebrate, it will be a celebration of skeletons, because people have lost so much weight from suffering that the government seems not to have given attention to. And the president said, well, he has no regret that his policies have inflicted monumental pains, but he was appealing to Nigerians to continue to persevere. So we are persevering, and we don't know how long this will take us to.
Let's just backtrack a bit and look at it. 65 years. 65 years is no small feat since Nigeria gained our independence, and then we've had series of political transition from, of course, the colonial era. We've seen the military come to power, and right now we're in the democratic dispensation. But Nigerians are still asking almost the same critical question. But I just want to ask you, for the past 65 years, as a nation, how have we thrived?
Well, we thank God that 65 years we're still a country put together, despite the very sharp divisions characterizing our union. But we are still together, and we are living peacefully with one another, even though there is nothing peaceful about our way of life. So we thank God that we are still here. We are not at war. So it's worth celebrating. We have recorded some modest transformation as a country in the last 65 years. But then putting together the resources we have also made within the 65 years, it's shameful that we are still where we are today. We've made also great progress in terms of corruption. Of course, we've advanced in corruption beyond any nation in the world. We've also been able to make great progress in impunity. We've recorded quite great progress in terms of leadership failure and, of course, then youth neglect. So all these are progresses that we have recorded, even though they are in red, but they are progress that we can still thank ourselves that we have recorded.
I just want to be clear on that. You said we've made progress in areas of corruption and impunity. Is it progress in terms of fighting this issue, or these issues have escalated over the years?
Yeah, we have escalated beyond imagination that there is no any country that can compete with us in terms of corruption. I mean, the advancement we have made in corruption in Nigeria is monumental. We have also made advancement in impunity and disregard for the rule of law and even democratic tenets. Some of the things that happen in this country cannot even be imagined elsewhere, even in very small countries. You don't even try them. So these are the negative progress we have made. But as a country, we have shamefully remained stagnated, that even to provide leadership for ourselves as a country and play the role as a regional power bloc in West Africa and the big brother in Africa, we are obviously nowhere. And so, after 65 years, where do we compare ourselves with? Countries like Rwanda that went through a lot of tumultuous national crisis had emerged today and are great leaders in modern civilization. But Nigeria had kept rigmaroling and recycling itself around an ominous leadership cycle that had no focus, had no direction, lacked even the common patriotism and love for the country. Majority of our leaders have houses, their families do not live in Nigeria. Majority of these people you see sitting down as I'm looking at them, their children are not here. Their children do not even participate in election. If they even die, they are not buried here. I know of a senator, a sitting senator, who buried his wife in the United States. I watch every week.
A sitting senator. You said you know of a senator who buried the wife in the United States.
Senator Oji Kalu buried his wife in the United States. And every week I watch Nigerian political elites, politicians, government officials, I mean, celebrating the graduation of their children in foreign schools. Every week we hear of Nigerian leaders, ministers, senators, members of the National Assembly, members of the judiciary, discharged from one foreign hospital or the other. Every week we celebrate Nigerians acquiring new aircraft. And so this is the leadership quagmire we have been trapped in the past 65 years.
I also would like to ask you, sir. I mean, you have been also, in the realms of government, just in this past administration of Muhammadu Buhari. What do you think is, what have we gotten wrong? I mean, from somebody who has been in government, before, you are a former minister yourself. Where have we gotten it wrong, such that we have corruption rife, at leadership level, and it appears like maybe, that they're just daring and they don't seem to, care. What do you think is wrong? What's responsible for this?
Maybe I will answer with an experience. When I was campaigning for President Muhammadu Buhari in 2015, I had in my mind that we were going to form a government that after 1 year, Nigeria will be a better place for every Nigerian. So the zeal with which I went campaigning and canvassing support for the government, I mean, was something I had never done in my life. But shortly after the party was elected and I was made a member of the transition committee which took over government, it was then I started coming into terms with certain practices which is completely at variance with what was put before the public space. I now even had to deal with people whom I never saw any of them while we were campaigning, but now coming in to play key roles in dictating and determining what would happen to the government. And so when I went into government, 6 months into the government, I wanted to leave. And it was not only me. There were about
you
5
wanted to
ministers.
leave after being in government. You wanted to leave.
Yeah,
6 months.
Just 6 months.
Why?
Why did I want to leave? I wanted to leave because there was a case of a monumental corruption which I bungled. And I reported it to the president, and the president directed me to refer it to relevant security agencies to investigate. And it was during the investigation that I was invited by one of the security agencies that was investigating. And I was asked that I was prosecuting that case because the person I was accusing was not of the same faith with me. And to them, that might be the motivation that drove me into that matter. And so I asked the question. The money in question, which was about 11 billion.
11 billion?
11 billion. Was it mine? And how does faith come to play a role in it? And then I was asked to bring money to enable the investigation proceed. So when I came out of that office, I was so disappointed. And I went back to complain to the president, and nothing seems to have happened positively. So I felt betrayed, and I thought I couldn't continue. But I discussed it with my friend, a childhood friend and a very intimate friend, that I was going to leave, and he said, no, I can't leave. So I asked him why. I explained what happened, and he said, no, remain there. Even if there is no file being sent to your office, you are still useful to us, because if I'm arrested now and taken to the police station, at least you can come and bail me. So remain there. So
all right.
that now became the reason why I had to navigate the very stormy water with a lot of battles that I fought from day one to the end.
Honorable Dalung, we'll definitely come back to those battles you said you fought while you were minister. I'm sure that Nigerians will want to know at least some of the behind the scenes, what happens within the realms of power. Stay with us. We'll be right back after this break. Many thanks for staying with us. It's still Politics HQ on News Central Television. And of course, we are looking at Nigeria at 65. Nigeria will be 65 tomorrow. But, tonight we decided to start off that conversation. I still have my guest with me. I have Honorable Solomon Dalung, the former Minister of Youth and Sports. And also joining this conversation right now is Elvis Akpobi, is the Executive Director, Not Too Young to Lead Initiative. Gentlemen, thank you for staying with me. Let me come to you, Elvis. Elvis, Nigeria will be 65 tomorrow. As a young Nigerian, will you say that looking back at, you being a Nigerian, what you've been able to achieve as a young man, will you say that the country has really been good to you?
Well, that's a good way to start. Okay, for me, I'm a proud Nigerian. I'm still proud to be Nigeria, but there are things. There's this weight of disappointment from a handful of state governor. So, but when we celebrate 5 years of independence,
We appear to be having a bit of connection issues with Elvis. Elvis, if you can hear me, please would definitely come back to you. We cannot seem to hear you well. Honorable Dalung, I'll come back to you. Before we went on that break, you were trying to tell us a particular scenario you experienced while you were minister, about almost 11 billion that almost made you resign from office just 6 months after being appointed. But I also want to ask you something which is on the minds of many Nigerians. And the question is this: most times when candidates campaign, to run for office, before they get to office, they seem to be, totally different person. But immediately they get to power, it appears like Nigerians don't seem to recognize those persons again. The promises that were made during campaigns seem to be thrown, into oblivion. And then people are asking, but this doesn't seem to be the person we voted or we elected to represent us. I mean, as somebody who has been in the realms of power, what usually changes? What happens? Why is it that sometimes those promises or those leaders that are voted based on maybe their pedigree, integrity, their background and all of that, once they get to power, it's almost entirely a different person that is there? Is it about the person now, or what goes on?
It is an institutional problem. The institution of government in Nigeria is skewed in a manner that if you do not take control of yourself, once you are inaugurated, you are a captive. And you will be at the whims and caprices of the official protocol. And so you are isolated from the very people that elected you, or your friends that you've been with them before your appointment, and operates at a very different level with which you don't seem to be connected. When I was appointed and inaugurated, immediately security details took over the protocol of my life. And so anywhere I was going, they were everywhere. But shortly they realized that I was a very difficult person to manage, because I found it very difficult to let go my way of life, which is to relate commonly with everybody, than living in that cage called the official protocol. So I was visiting my friends. I was even going to local places to sit down with my friends. Some of them are this shy. I sit with them and take shy and then leave, because I refuse to be captured. So the whole thing is about the system. That is a protocol system on the ground that captures you and tends to redefine who you are. And if you are not conscious of yourself, then you got lost in it. At the level of the president, the institution of the Nigerian presidency is fashioned in a manner that the president, he is not a much younger person who is always conscious of everything around him. He is easily captured and kept inside that dungeon called the villa, and government is hijacked and run by aides. Even official communications are sometimes distorted.
Is the president, for instance, I mean, from what you experienced as minister, is the president really usually in charge?
Yeah, the president has three identities. He is the chief executive officer of the country, he is the commander-in-chief, and he is the head of state. And all these three have functions exercised by the president. But the president being in charge is exercised through 8 appointed persons. And those appointed persons who exercise power on behalf of the president, as it is with our system, most times distort the normal course of events, and that led up to this concept of a cabal. So there is always a power clique that pretends to be protecting the president while festering their own personal and selfish ambition against the president. I'll give you a good example before you take the question away. I was a minister. I was blocked from seeing the president for 3 months. Each time I go to the office of the chief of staff, I will be told that the president is very busy. He said he's very busy. They will go out, come back and tell me the president was very busy. So, and there were even national issues that were in need of the attention of the president. I wrote 5 different letters, no reply. So I realized that the power cabal had successfully taken control of the communication between me and the president. So I went back as a guerrilla politician. I went back to Nadeko route and then got to the president. And when I got to the president, I asked him, sir, for over 3 months, I'm told that you have been so busy that you can no more be able to see me. And he just dropped the call. And after 5 minutes, I received an appointment from the protocol unit to see the president the following day by 2 p.m. And I knew that those who now cut the communication will develop another strategy of making sure that I do not see the president. And how will they do that? They could carry files at exactly that time that I'm supposed to see the president and occupy the president to the time which I'm supposed to see him, and I may not see him. So I also developed my own guerrilla tactics of beating all their plans to be in the president's office at 1:30. So at 1:30, I passed all the protocol gates and was well seated in the president's waiting room. And he saw me through the camera. So at 1:45, instead of 2 o'clock, he invited me. When I finished with the president at 2 o'clock, while I was stepping out, they were coming with files as tall as myself. About that same time, to occupy the president when they made me coming out, and they were so disappointed. So the power cult, the dealer, is always very powerful.
All right.
And they can do and undo, except they cannot change a woman into a man.
All right. Thank you so much. I mean, the reason why we're having this conversation and the reason why I gave you time to really explain all of this is most times Nigerians usually ask if Mr. President, whoever the person is at whatever dispensation, is abreast with the current realities of Nigeria. So if a minister that you were back then found it hard to see the president, someone within his cabinet because of certain individuals, that tells you how much the average Nigerian, might even have to go through just to see the president. But thank you for all of that. Let me take the conversation to Elvis. Elvis, it's great to have you back. I asked you a question before we lost you. I asked you, are you proud to be a Nigerian even after 65 years of our independence?
Yes, I'm proud to be in Nigeria, but I'm not proud of the situation going on in Nigeria. Because for me, when God was posting citizens to their countries, God has a reason for posting me to Nigeria. So I'll always be proud to be in Nigeria. The people that betted, that brought this issue, this independence, were young people in their 30s, in their 40s. 65 years later, these same persons are still recycling themselves, giving excuses for why we are still backward. And you see, with advocacy and all that, the Not Too Young to Run bill was signed. And lately, if you observe the political players, what they do, since we want young people, they handpick people not using character and not using criteria like accountability, preparedness for leadership, character, and competence. And for me, celebrating 65 years of independence, fine, we've achieved a little, but there's need to achieve more. And for us to achieve more, the leaders at the moment, I'm glad I'm with my father, I'm on this platform with my father, and a leader, a former minister of youth, I've always admired. If he didn't tell you his story, he won't know that he was facing this bleakness. So oftentimes, it's not only the presidency, almost every strata of government will always have this cabal who are scared of competent people, who doesn't want the presidents to, have conversations with people that will bring something that will add value to the whatever administration it is. But that's by the wayside. We still have some very, very accessible leaders who, even no matter that protection, no matter that hiccup, they'll have a way to ask, bring this person and bring this person. But for me, it's time the leaders know that we should start planning our next 65 years of independence. And planning our next 65 years of independence means recruiting young, vibrant people who are responsive, who are accountable, who have capacity to deliver the Nigeria dream. Because lately, there's this brain drain going on. A lot of people, if you engage almost 50% of young Nigerians, they'll tell you they want to escape this country. Not because they are sure of what they want to do in the Western world, but because they've given up on the country. They've given up on Nigeria because of our leadership problem, because there's very little to be inspired by here. But for me, we all need to sit back and fix this country. We can't continue complaining. We can't continue saying, this is why we didn't get it right. This is why we didn't get it right. Other countries today are growing on the potentials of young Nigeria. How come they do well when they leave the shores of this country? Let's not forget we just had, it's a very sad moment celebrating 65 years of independence. A young, bright light was cut short. The host of Arise TV was cut short because Nigeria happened to him due to insecurity, due to bad policies with, the hospital. And today, that life has been cut short. And that is the one you could hear about because she's a popular, this is a popular person. There are so many people who don't have the right surname, who are not popular, who don't have followers, that Nigeria is happening to, just like it happened to Sumi of Arise. So it's time we speak out. If not, one day we'll wake up and this country will go into extinction. I pray it doesn't get to that. But it's time we need to disrupt the status quo.
That's also the wish on the lips of many people that we don't go into extinction. But let's go on another break. When we return, we'll be, of course, looking at the issue of leadership and accountability and also some reforms that we need to take to get us where we need to be. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Many thanks for staying with us. And of course, we are looking at Nigeria at 65. Of course, retrospect as regards tomorrow when Nigeria will be celebrating our Independence Day. I still have my guest with me. Akpobi Elvis is the Executive Director of Not Too Young to Lead Initiative. And I also have Honorable Solomon Dalung, who's former Minister of Youth and Sports. Gentlemen, thank you for staying with me. Honorable Dalung, let me come to you, sir. Let's talk about leadership and accountability. There have been many, many ideas that have been proposed to sort of make our leaders accountable and ensure that at the end of the day, they do the job that they are voted or appointed to do, they do it well, and of course with some level of integrity. Some have even proposed that what we see in some Asian countries like China be adopted in Nigeria, where leaders who are charged for corruption, for instance, are executed. Do you think that should be the case in Nigeria? Will that spur some level of accountability?
Well, I think the problem we have is we have a very erroneous definition of what accountability is when you come to leadership in Nigeria. Accountability means explaining every aspect of your life as a leader and every action of yours. if the president of Nigeria is traveling out of the country, he is entitled, Nigerians are entitled to be accountable. Where is he going to? How long is he going to stay? Why is he going to? That is accountability. Now, coming to mismanagement of public resources and assets, which leadership in Nigeria has been unable to account for. It is unfortunate that accountability is an enemy of our democracy. This is because leaders do not see themselves as servants of the people. Leadership means selfless sacrifice to your people. But our leaders see themselves as conquerors of the people. And so they demand respect which they do not earn. They demand to be worshipped and their children. And that is why you have the first son, the first lady, the first family, the first this and the first that. This is the personification of leadership, which is the bent of the Nigerian leadership. In the circumstance, you can never hold anybody accountable. And that is why the president of Nigeria today does not even go to the National Assembly again to spend Nigerian money as required by law. When he wanted to buy his aircraft, he bought the aircraft before the National Assembly rectified it. When he declared the state of emergency Rivers State, it was subject to the ratification of National Assembly before the appointment of a sole administrator. But he appointed a sole administrator, saw him in before it was approved. All this impunity are against accountability. So when it comes to the question you asked, whether stiff penalty could solve the problem of corruption in Nigeria, the answer is no. Because
you think so? Why?
If you introduce death penalty for corruption, those people that will be shot every day will be poor people who would have stolen chicken, who would have gone to the neighbor's farm and brought mess, who would have taken stolen a cup of gari. They will be the people. So there will be mass execution every day, and in maybe less than a year, half of Nigerians would have been executed, because these corrupt leaders will redefine corruption to mean the action and attitude of the poor is what is corruption. So we do not have the institution that will enforce that death penalty. We don't.
All right. Now,
the institutions today are in favor of the very corrupt system in place, the ignoble system in place,
all right,
the impunity in place. So anything stiff penalty will only be against the poor, just like you see bandits killing people. Now, nobody is talking about it. Bandits carried arms. Nobody is talking about it. But if this, my brother, is seen now with a knife, they will mobilize a barrack of police, arrest him, and charge him for being in possession of dangerous weapons.
Honorable Dalung, you talk about institutions. You talk about institutions, but that would, of course, make me take this question to Elvis. Elvis, let's talk about institutions right here. There have been talks around institutional reforms, from the electoral system, even to the legislative arm and the judiciary. I mean, I would like you to speak on specific reforms, preferably in bullet points, what you think can be done, practically, to ensure that these institutions are stronger than individuals who are either appointed or elected into them.
Okay. So, for me, I will reiterate again that Nigeria is blessed. So I am a graduate of the National Institute of Policy and Strategic Studies, PSLC, course 49. And my 1 month in that course taught me that if our nation, Nigeria as a nation, implements everything, even the graduate MNI, they implement everything that is being taught in that school, we'll get it right as Nigerians. Because oftentimes it seems as if everybody just wants to go and get that tag, MNI and all that. So if we, and what I was told in that 1 month is, if we embody strong institution, if our policies are not laced with bias, social strata, ethnicity, if they are well enacted, Nigeria will move forward. But today you find out that let me give you an example: electoral reforms. That's key. If we are able to have an electoral reform that is not laced with bias, I think we'll move forward. Today, I think I've been hearing that there's a support person that will be appointed as the INEC chairman. That person will be appointed by the president. And he who pays the piper detects the tone. How do you expect an INEC chairman being appointed by the president to conduct a free, fair, and credible election? I was an electoral observer in the 2023 Liberia election, and I engaged the young persons, and I noticed that they had confidence in their electoral empire. That election, there was a runoff between the incumbent and the present president today. If that election took place in Nigeria, I'm sure the incumbent would have won. What is Liberia? What are Liberians? What's the Liberia policy? How is it different from that of Nigeria? How have we got to know it right? Because we keep using lip service. Let's do this, let's do that, let's do that. We've seen cases where the EFCC, who are meant to be witch hunting, to be going after people that are take our collective tax and all that, our collective wealth and all that. But you see them today, they seem as if there's a selective, they go for selective people. Right. It's either you see an internet, people that, that are into internet fraud and all that. Why we see people, you hear cases of monkey swallowed money, that person will still be working freely. I've seen cases where high profile politicians are charged to court, they're in prison, you see them smiling and reading newspaper because they know that there will always be a backdoor politics going on. And these are many more have made young people who are meant to be more patriotic. A handful of them have given up on Nigeria. So for me, if we have strong institutions, if we have enact policies that are not laced with bias, we'll get it right. And if we fix our accountability system, we'll have good leadership. And if we have good leadership, Nigeria will be better.
All right, Elvis, we'll pick up from there. But let me come back to you, Honorable. Honorable, the current administration has blamed the previous administration, extensively for many of the challenges Nigerians are facing, even though it's of the same political party, the APC. You are part of the previous administration at some point. You are a minister, just like we've reiterated on the show. How do you react to this? The current administration has said, look, the previous administration created a lot of the problems that Nigerians are facing, and they are trying to mop it up. How do you react to all of this allegation as somebody who at some point was part of the previous administration?
A lazy man will always blame his tools. When I was appointed a minister, I inherited great challenges in the ministry. And it was my responsibility to address them, so I didn't blame anybody. I immediately put up a committee on the ground to embark on reforms. And the committee delivered its reports, and I embarked on massive reforms and did my best and leave. This idea of blame game is a distraction and is also diversionary. Before you contest as a president, you have a good idea of the responsibilities you are aspiring to take. So you cannot suddenly, after saying, so help me God, and after you have said, so help me God, you said subsidy is gone. Then suddenly you will realize that the problems were created by the previous government. No government ever made a very good situation on the ground. If this government is blaming Buhari's government, I have said it so many times, see government vehicle. I used my private vehicle for 4 years. There was no government official vehicle for me.
You used your private vehicle to move around while you were minister?
Yes, there was no official vehicle for me.
So how about your convoy?
Vehicle that was
while your convoy too, did the government provide vehicles for your orderlies, your security, or were you also responsible for that?
There was one, the vehicle that I was given was what became my backup vehicle. The one that I was supposed to use was what now became my backup vehicle. Then there was an old Hilux that was in the ministry. That was what formed the convoy. But my official car was my private car that I used for that period. But the point I'm trying to put here is that...
All right, we'll come back to that. We'll come back to that. We'll come back to that, Honorable Minister. Let's go on a quick break. When we return, we'll be taking, of course, your landing thoughts on this. Stay with us. Many thanks for staying with us. Of course, I still have my guest with me, Honorable Solomon Dalung, former Minister of Youth and Sports, and also Elvis Akpobi, the Executive Director, Not Too Young to Lead Initiative. In 30 seconds, Elvis, what would be your message to Nigerians, ahead of the Independence Day? 30 seconds.
You're talking to me, right?
Yes.
Hello?
Yes, Elvis, the question is yours. 30 seconds. Okay.
My message to Nigerians, mostly those making policies for us now, they should know that their actions and inactions will determine how Nigeria will look like. Their blunders will become our inheritance as young people. Whatever they do, they are setting precedents, either positive or negative. They should bear in mind that the Nigeria dream will only become a reality if we do the right thing. Nobody is coming to save us as Nigerians. Only Nigerians can make Nigeria better.
All right.
It's time we all sit on the table, keep every bias, and put this country on the right path.
All right, thank you. Thank you very much. I'd also like to direct the same question to you too, sir, Honorable Dalung, particularly your message directing it to Mr. President and even the APC.
Well, my message to the President and the government is that insecurity in Nigeria now is at its highest peak, which has led to the death of one of the youngest, brilliant Nigerian, and I send my condolences. She tweeted 2 days before her death that make Nigeria not do me or any of my family. And Nigeria actually did her. So we don't know what will happen to the family. Insecurity has escalated now and it has entered Kwara. Kwara is a rainforest and a Sahel. It is a very fertile ground for terrorists. The government must do something to fight this insecurity. Otherwise, we are into a very big calamity.
All right, thank you so much, gentlemen. It's been a pleasure having you. Honorable Solomon Dalung, former Minister of Youth and Sports, and also Elvis Akpobi, the Executive Director, Not Too Young to Lead Initiative. Once again, gentlemen, thank you for your time. Well, this, of course, is where we wrap it up. In case you missed out, you can catch up on our YouTube platform. That's at News Central TV. You can also choose to follow us on social media. The handle is there on your screen. You can choose to follow me personally at Dakmo, at Digboye. Until I come your way tomorrow, good night.